If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, Konstantin Obolensky. I've been with the company now for 2 years. I'm in the distributor management and in assistance to the 2 CEOs, one of which is my father.
Obviously.
Philip Schuster. I graduated medical engineering, specialized in textile machinery engineering, and I'm director of clinical affairs now at FEG.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Boris Obolensky, as my son said, I'm one of 2 CEOs of our company and also one of 2 founders of the company and owners. And I'm a mechanical engineer too, specialized on technical textiles, and that's how we founded our company. And that's the company name itself. In German it means FEG, Forschungs- und Entwicklungsgesellschaft, what means Research and Development Company. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Bernd Klosterhalf, and I'm a professor of surgical pathology now for 30 years, and I'm interested for 25 years in the pathology of surgical meshes, in particular of how a mesh has to be constructed to be biocompatible. And I investigated in this time 15,000, maybe 20,000 explants from preclinical studies and from patients. And I have been served as an expert witness in the litigations in the United States and in Australia.
Thank you very much.
My name is Dominic Walsh, and I'm the Chief Executive of Hospital Services, and we are the distributor for the United Kingdom and Ireland for FEG Textiltechnik.
Thank you very much, because I do believe that you actually work with it's about 50 countries across the globe with your product. So I would like to start then just by asking you a few questions, one or two, unless there's something you'd like to say first.
Yeah, maybe.
Indeed, we prepared a brief statement,
Yes,
which probably will take 10-15 minutes, if that is okay.
right.
The idea of the statement is to give you an idea of what we are, what our way of thinking is, what the crucial mesh parameters are, because that's the area where we are experts in. And then these parameters are also important to recognize what are the differences in the meshes on the market. And then we sat together and thought about a critical analysis of the current situation and potential improvements. That's what we put into the statement, if that is okay.
Yes.
We would just start with that. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. We're very honored to contribute to this investigation. A brief remark up front regarding language. So I'm not a native speaker. If there's any problem on your side or on my side, then Konstantin is almost native speaker will help us out here, if that is okay.
I can assure you it's better than my job.
All right. So FEG is, as Boris Obolensky said, an owner-managed company, so we're not subjected to any investors' expectations. That is an important point. We are developing and manufacturing mesh implants for the 2 sectors, hernia and urogynecology, but we do not have direct sales. So in contact with the end users are the distributors which we cooperate with all over the world. The 2 USPs. What is different? So we do have a fully integrated production line, which means we only buy the granule, and then we do the filament spinning on our own. We do the preparation, the warp knitting, the finishing of the products in-house. That enables a toolbox of parameters which you can adjust and use to adapt the properties of the product. This is an important point. The second USP is the material which we use. So we're the only supplier of meshes in the market which is PVDF, the polymer. So to understand our way of thinking and to understand what are the crucial parameters, it's important to go back in the history just briefly. So founded in 1992 as a engineering service provider for technical textiles and textile machinery industry, we rather by coincidence get involved into the first project, which goal was to develop a hernia mesh. So this was a project funded by one of the big competitors, American competitor in the market. And we started with the classic engineering approach to set up a requirement profile, checking state of the art, and we come up with a proposal to make a large pore mesh, which at this time was really an innovation. And we also proposed to use PVDF. However, the funding company restricted the choice of materials to only PP and multi-filament structure, in contrast to our proposal of using monofilament structure. The reason for this is quite obvious. So these were established and registered products which were available at the company. So from their point of view, the decision was made. So in consequence, and deeply convinced that it is possible to make better meshes, we started to develop our own meshes. So that was a direct consequence of this project. And still today we are owner managed, and as I said, we're not subjected to investors' expectations. And this is an important point and a big difference to many competitors, and I would explain that on one example. We never developed hernia plugs or 6-arm meshes, although technically we easily could have done so, but we were never convinced that these are good products. And meanwhile, there is enough evidence that we were pretty right with this first appraisal we did here. And this is a freedom which we live to decide what we do and what we not do, which is possible because we are owner managed. I would like to come now to the crucial mesh parameters, which are important to recognize what are the differences of the meshes available. So basically, there are two major toolboxes available where you can adjust the properties. The one is the raw material, which you use to make a mesh, and the other one is the textile design, the textile structure. Essential requirements for the raw material is a long-term stability, as long as you do not go for degradable meshes by intention, and the low foreign body reaction. So these are the two characteristics where you look at when you choose a raw material. Essential requirements related to the design are mechanical properties of the structure, of course. So we always follow a biomimetic approach. So we're trying to adapt the mechanical properties of our products to those of the host tissue, the native tissue. And that is possible by adjusting the process parameters. The second essential requirement relating to design is the porosity or effective porosity. The effective porosity is a concept which we established. It describes the porosity after the foreign body reaction, the initial foreign body reaction took place. This is an important difference. Porosity is important on the long term, and it's important to reduce the risk for chronic pain. I think this is state of the art. The third essential requirement relating to design is the structure stability. So you can design the most nicely and beautiful pores, but if under tension, which is applied in the body, the pores collapse, it doesn't help. So you need also to check the porosity under tension, under load. This is important. Professor Klosterhaufen did investigations on many thousands explants, and from a histopathologic view, he's an expert and can definitely explain the meaning of those parameters, which I just sum up more in detail than I can do. I'm not sure if we do that now or a little later. Up to you. So what's still left is our critical analysis of the current situations. If we can do that up front, or Professor Klosterhaufen can tell you a little more on the histology of the meshes.
Well, thank you very much. That's been really helpful. And an omission from me, I should have told you that this oral hearing is being recorded. It's been videoed and it will be up on our website.
No problem.
And that's true of all the oral hearings that we've been having, so I hope that's all right with you. I'm very interested what you were saying about the product. You're very anxious that it isn't degradable. Can I just ask you, and perhaps it's in the papers that we have, but how long have you actually been producing it, and how, and when did you first start to insert it into women's abdomens?
Yeah. So we developed the first fibers and implants starting in a public funded project by the German government.
Right.
So you will find we are very open-minded. Yeah? All our knowledge, except some technical, special knowledge, like spinning machine adaptation, but parameters are open to the public. Yeah? And we learned a lot from Professor Klosthalmen and his colleague Professor Klinge, who publicated more than 150 publications. So all this knowledge we have is open to the public, from my understanding, and it starts in 1994. So we recognized that there was mainly used not optimal polymers, and that was a public project for 3 years. And we developed the first fibers and implants made from PVDF. Started with a lot of technical investigations and animal tests. So it took more than 6 years to really be able to have implants on the market. So that was 2003. And now, so we have 15 years in the market. And we have results, even if you do your best, and we try really to engineer the best mesh which is possible for every purpose. So there is not the single best mesh material. There is a good polymer or a bad polymer, but you have to design the structure for the purpose. We call it tailored approach. So the material which is good for a hernia mesh for a special operation technique is totally wrong in another purpose. So that is really essential. So we have more than 16 different structures, and you shouldn't use mesh A for operation technique C. That is really crucial. And even if you do your best, sometimes it occurs that meshes have to be explanted, and we offer to all our customers free analysis of all explanted meshes. And that's how we learn best about materials, structures, and so on. And all these results are published by Professor Klosthalmen, who can explain better than me.
So if you're following up after you have inserted the mesh into women,
Yes.
and you're ensuring that you get all the information that you need from them, and the women are finding it's not as successful as you hoped, is it easy to take the mesh out?
It really depends. I have to say it's not easy. It's never easy, but it is possible with our meshes, especially because our meshes are, since 2007 we made a new innovation, and now our meshes are visible in MRI. So normally a mesh is invisible. You cannot see a mesh. So what you see if you are a radiologist, you only see phantoms, if there is some water or some air, but the mesh is invisible. And we offer a mesh. Unfortunately, not all surgeons ask for it, but we offer every mesh as a so-called visible mesh. And then it is absolutely 100% sure you can identify it, every piece of the mesh, and then you can take it out.
So does it not wrap itself around other organs, as we've heard from the patients who have suffered complications from mesh, have told us how the mesh has actually wrapped itself around the bladder and about the vagina and other organs, and that has made it very difficult to take the mesh out. Does your mesh do that?
Once again, we have to explain what kind of mesh.
Right.
Do we talk about a so-called simple incontinence sling? Do we talk about a complicated vaginal mesh technique, like these big meshes, 6 arms? That is totally different. You cannot compare. Then maybe.
It's good.
Yeah.
But what we know from all the studies we made from the preclinical studies, so in standardized conditions, and from the patients, from the explants. And here we have insight of explants staying in the body for 20 or 25 and 30 years sometimes. The average is, of course, is shorter, so mainly the complications occur after 2 years in the average. But if you talk about slings or the meshes for prolapse repair, we have explants where we have the insight for 8 or 10 or 12 years. And what is really important is that what you have to understand, every mesh implant produces this foreign body reaction, and this foreign body reaction is a chronic inflammatory type, a type of chronic inflammatory process. And you have to imagine what you produce is something which you can, for instance, compare with a chronic wound, with a persisting cell turnover. And we made studies on explant taken out after 20 years, and if you make special investigations, you can see, yeah, you have still a cell turnover, so cells die, cells proliferate, so that the tissue around the mesh is remodeled over years, and this is a progressive progress. And this explains why the shape of the mesh or the position of the mesh can change over years. And we know that this foreign body reaction is the main key to understand the complications, because the extent of the foreign body reaction correlates directly to the fibrosis, and the fibrosis, the extent of the fibrosis, directly correlates to the complications of mesh. And there are a couple of complications, but you can correlate it, for instance, chronic pain. You have the scar around the mesh, and if nerves are entrapped in this scar, or if the nerve is directly traumatized by the mesh, you get this neuromas and this states of chronic pain. If the scar starts to shrink, which is a natural process of the scar, the mesh has to follow the scar, and it wrinkles up, and we have folding, and this is the reason of erosions. We know that the foreign body reaction correlates to infection, fistula formation, adhesion, and dismigration. So the aim has to, or the aim if we want to have a biocompatible mesh, is so that you have to reduce this foreign body reaction to a minimum, and to have to reduce this fibrosis to a minimum. And this is exactly what we know, and you can correlate it to all meshes. And what we know, if you have the same mesh structure, and when you make a mesh from polypropylene or PVDF, you can see that this foreign body reaction is stronger than the foreign body reaction of this PVDF. And this, I think.
Sorry, can I just follow that up? So you'll be saying whether it's for stress urinary incontinence or for prolapse, and we're talking about transabdominal, collector, transvaginal at the moment, a PVDF mesh will generate fewer complications than polypropylene for both those types of procedures.
We are always talking about averages, and if you are in statistical results, you see, of course, the result of a repair depends on a couple of factors: the surgeon, the skill of the surgeon, the procedure, and of course of the patient and his genetic background. This is very important because there are responder and non-responder. So the patient patients getting the same mesh have different degrees of the foreign body reaction.
Well, I was going to come to that in a minute, because one of the issues, women tell us that actually there's no woman for whom mesh in any form should ever be implanted. And from all your research and your studies, would you say that it's possible to define a group of women for whom mesh could have a good outcome after you've tried non-invasive conservative treatments, that mesh actually would be a desirable next stage? Are you in a place where, from all the studies you've looked at, the types of women who receive mesh, one can begin to define such a group? Because the patient groups say to us that that's not possible.
That's a very good question. I think you can make tests before whether a patient reacts on these meshes, yes or no. So we made experiments with monocytes, which we put into the meshes, and we could say how these monocytes are activated. Basically, you can define a patient group which reacts low to these meshes, but I think you never can say that you never will have any complications.
I accept that. Yeah. But you've got that group of characteristics in mind, have you?
Excuse me?
A group of characteristics of that woman who could take a mesh. You're already beginning to think what sort of characteristics, what sort of defining features that woman will present with.
Can you identify your low responders?
Hast du eine klare Vorstellung, welche Patientin wäre dafür geeignet? Also gibt es irgendwie eine Checkliste quasi für dich, sie ist A, B, C, D, alles erfüllt, okay, die wäre möglich mit Netz zu behandeln. Wenn die alle nicht erfüllt sind, dann sollte man das Netz lieber sein lassen.
I think there's no exact definition what you can have. So basically, there are some special patients groups. If you had or if you tried already suture repairs and you have a recurrence, you can try these meshes, and if the women are older. But there's, I think, you cannot exactly define this group.
How important are lifestyle factors determining suitability?
I think if I look at my data pool, all the meshes, or how the meshes react in the body, is very similar. And in my data pools, I have a couple of thousand of these meshes, and these individual factors, whether a patient is a smoker or whether a patient has diabetes, is randomized out, and you cannot see real differences between these groups. Because it's always the arguments during these litigations. They say, look, this is obese patients, a BMI of 35, smoker, she had operations before. This is randomized out in these data pools because of the high number of these experts. And basically, you cannot expect, this is my personal opinion, the group of incontinent patients or patients with prolapse. This is an older group, of course, and they have a couple of diseases, and I think this is a precondition you have to think about if you sell this measure.
Can I just ask you, I don't know the German system at all. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me, do you have patient groups, as we do in this country, who have taken a huge interest in this area altogether, and who have taken on themselves the issue of informing members of Parliament, other parliamentary groups, the general public? We've seen a lot of communication through the media, through Twitter, through all the areas that we communicate in now. Do you have that in Germany?
No, in Germany not. So the patients are not pretty good organized there. I have only overlooked about the organizations in the United States and Australia. You have this new mesh device desk or something like that. Yes. And but in Germany it's not like that.
So how do you do your follow-up? Because we've heard a lot from women who have had these insertions made and then have been very, very ill as a consequence. And so they've made their voices heard through the parliamentary system, and of course this is why this review was set up. And I just wonder how you get your information of areas where it hasn't been so successful.
Yeah, this is a very, very good question, and I think in the past we missed to have this quality control in most of the countries where these measures were used. And of course, I think you heard here a lot of clinicians, and they will say you have to produce this data by clinical studies. The gold standard or the best would be, of course, prospective randomized studies, but we are not a believer, because to do a study like that with a particularly good follow-up, you need years, even decades, and a lot of money. And I think the idea, especially coming up in hernia surgery, is to build up registers. It's the only chance to get relatively quick results for quality control and surveillance of these meshes. What you do the first step has to be that you can exactly identify the implant or the explant, so that you need something like an identity card. And the second step is that we have to know how many of these meshes are implanted in a special time interval. And the third step is that you have to force the companies or the clinicians or whatever at the hospitals that they have to send every explant which fails to a registry or a database, and then you have to overlook what types of meshes, what products are explanted. And what is very, very important, you have not only an overlook after years, you have an early warning system. So I remember mesh types which were introduced or launched to the market, and for instance, after 3 months you get a couple of explants back, so you can say, or to warn the company or the physician, you can say, oh, there's something wrong. And this would be what I would recommend to do in the first step.
May I add a comment here? See, as a manufacturer, we launched the product with a risk-benefit ratio, which is on the benefit side, of course. But we never can exclude residual risk 100%. So we do need feedback from the market. This is the one point. Feedback can come from surgeons to authorities or to the manufacturer himself. If we get feedback, we always try, and we try very hard to get all necessary information to assess this case. And the crucial question is always, is there a clear mesh relation with this event? Which is really a challenge, since there are so many influencing factors. It's very rare that you can clearly say, well, this is a problem which is, really evidence-based, caused by a mesh. Communication and error culture. These are 2 points which are of importance here, I think. So communication, if we get the feedback from the market, either from the surgeon or from the hospital or from authority, and we're trying to get all information, it's not rare that we do not get any information, neither from the surgeon or from the hospital, due to certain reasons. They simply do not have time, or they do not want to share that information with us, or they say, well, there's the General Data Protection Act, so we're not allowed to share the data with you. So all these problems.
What about from the patients?
Pardon?
What about from the patients themselves?
Very rarely we get contacted by the patients. Although on the implant passport, of course, we are. It's obvious that we are the manufacturer. But since 2 years now, I'm in charge of this department, and we get contacted by patients maybe 4 or 5 times, and then rather for things like, well, there is a potential allergy. Can I have a sample up front to check that? Not really serious events, not reported from patients.
Is this your experience in Germany or in all countries?
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Absolutely worldwide. You
UK.
don't get, even if you try hard, I have to say that. We have 7 people. We are only 70 people in the company. We have 7 people, 7 out of 17, working in that quality assurance. And it's absolutely hard, and I have to say impossible. Yeah? I'm personally responsible for this, and I want to have the best product in the market, and we want to follow up every case we get. And believe me, we do it, but it's really hard. And these guys, they cannot do it because surgeons don't deliver information. Yeah? We deliver to a distributor. The distributor delivers to the hospital. Yeah? We don't know the patient. We do not know. Never. Yeah? If we ask the hospital, they say it's not your information. They don't share it. Yeah? They don't like it. They are not there are various reasons, and that's why we have some proposals to change this, and we would really like it, because this is the lack. There is a huge gap. What happens to your mesh? You develop a good mesh, and then you even don't know what happens to your mesh, which procedure was done. In Germany is that one, we call it DRG, so there is a diagnosis. You know the system, I guess. I think it comes originally from Australia. They already changed it, but the German authorities are very
diagnostic
slow. So finally, it's that way. If you have an hernia, okay, the hospital is paid to cure the patient, but you don't know what they do, and they get the same amount of money whether they put in, let's say, a good mesh or a cheap mesh, or if they don't do a mesh and there's suture. So there are huge financial interests on the side of clinics, hospitals, which are not open to the public.
I can see that's very frustrating for everybody.
Absolutely, you can say so.
But you are a global organisation, and you were talking about Australia. So in Australia, do they have registries? Do they have very strong databases? No. The best is, sorry for interrupting, Sweden. Sweden. There is a hernia register, but the actual problem here is urogynecology. So I don't know actually a good registry in this area. That's why we developed an own registry, and we offer it to everyone. We did the same for hernia.
So that's open to all manufacturers.
It's open to all our customers, and it's open. So for hernia, best example is Hemorrhage called. I think 6-7 years ago, a large group of surgeons, really international experts, independent. We just put some money in and said, do a good job. I think we were the starter company. The big ones first refused. When we stepped in, they gave also some money. And then this is really the world best registry. It's open to public and it's free. And it's so frustrating how less surgeons and clinics are using it. That is reality. Sorry for that.
It's voluntary.
Because it
is voluntary.
It is voluntary, exactly. We cannot put force on we cannot put force on anyone. Sorry.
And here another comment. I think registries, you cannot underestimate the value of registries for the post-market surveillance, and that is really a lack. There's so many questions. Even if we get feedback from the market, a bit more comprehensive, and we would identify a potential mesh relation, we would set up a PMCF study. But really, to isolate the impact of the mesh in this entire situation, it would be possible, or it is necessary to have a vast number of cases. And this is, in the end, and especially on the long term, only possible with registries.
But with your registry, what proportion of your products have had to be removed?
We're in preparation of this registry as one of our actions for improved post-market surveillance under the MDR.
For urogynecology.
For urogyn.
For the Hemorrhage, for the hernia sector, as an example, it's
what
already
about
existing.
What proportion of your meshes have had to be removed?
Well, this registry is under construction. So the technical part is almost done. We're working on the CRFs together with.
Do you know what proportion of meshes that have been implanted for urogynecological reasons have had to be removed, explanted?
Only from the feedback from the market, from the surgeons, because the registry is not working out yet.
In your company?
Yes, our
proportion?
Company. Yeah. I know from
7?
maybe 6, 7, less than 10 implants.
Less than 10.
That's what the information which we got from the market.
And we work hard on it, but it would be not honest to say only 7 out of 70, so 1,000. So we sold 70,000 products in the area of incontinence and prolapse.
That's
but as I mentioned, that's worldwide. But as I mentioned, you have to look on. For us, is a sling, totally different product. is a vaginal tape, very small amount. We believe in laparoscopic approach for various reasons, but I mean surgeons are free, so we offer especially bilateral products now for 4 years. And before we put a product in the market, even if we are allowed by CE, we always look for some surgeons who use it for 1, 2, 3 years just in advance. Because that is our only really safety management. Because then they deliver, because they are interested, they deliver really figures. And then
do you pay them to participate in
we
those
try not to pay, which is hard because if you first, to be honest, 15 years ago I told the people I cannot pay. We started as a 12 years engineering company, working in a field, the competitors. So I had to tell really honest to everyone, we cannot pay, but you get results, we learn, and we found always interested, honest surgeons. In our days, certainly we earn some money, and that is also our interest, certainly, but not for every, it's not our main interest, let's say that one. And if we pay surgeons, finally, it is like a boomerang, So then people ask, how did you get this information? And if you paid for it, it has a it has a taste. So we try to avoid this, and telling the surgeon, is your interest, is your quality insurance, to have good results. So
does it work?
It works. For the actual legal status, it works good enough, but we are absolutely not satisfied, and we want to change it, and we work hard on it, but it's not easy.
If you can find a win-win situation, if any surgeon needs this data, needs publications for his personal goals, aims, and then there might be a setting which works even without money. But I know the situation of the surgeons; they're overloaded with work. And I see that it's really hard for them to, in addition to what they do, put their data into a registry. So this is what we need.
Do you market in the United States?
Excuse me?
Do you market in the United States?
No, we do not.
Why not?
We in the beginning we got the CE marking, so European market was free for us, and then we decided, still being a small company, where are new markets? And I mean, it's easy to understand. Our main competitors and the global players, and we are talking about really global players in comparison to our company, they are in America. So we said, okay, that is the whole market. We don't understand it. They have large advantages in a home market, so we concentrate on new markets. In that time, it was Brazil. Today, it's not a new market. South America, China, which was a very new market, is not in our days. India, So we are definitely in all markets, but we did not enter the US market for that reason. It's still, there are many countries to come, and the US market was not our first aim.
What about the UK market? How important to you is the UK market?
We would like to have it more important. That's why this gentleman is here. We have a previous distributor in the UK, and we were not so satisfied about this situation. And so the UK market is for us is I would say important, because it's close to us. It's Europe, whether it's Europe, definitely. I mean, if you look on the map, it's Europe. And I have I have to say, I have a strong, affinity to England, even if my English is bad. My son and my daughter studied in England, so we are interested in the market, and I'm interested in the history.
Do you know how many implants you sold in the UK?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You do know?
Yeah, no, certainly. I think I sent the figures to you. If you are interested, I have to look it up. I don't have it in my mind, but I think maybe.
Final comment from being dealing with the hospitals. One of the differences that we have with some of the other products. Hospital services is a small medium business, size business. We turn about 16, 17 million. General Reaction, I'm based in Northern Ireland, and we also market in the Republic of Ireland out of Dublin. We have been extremely successful in the Republic of Ireland, and we have similar sales in the island of Ireland to what all of the GB markets would have been. And in the time that I've been involved, 5 years working with FEG Dynamesh, we have had one incident where we've had a problem. That's it. Only one incident, and that I think is I'm a mechanical engineer, but I'm not a medical engineer. And the product is designed for its use. There's also a significant difference in the performance inside the body of PVDF versus other polymers. And the PVDF doesn't biodegrade, it doesn't react, it remains flexible. So therefore it fits with the patient longer.
So well, there's two questions, I suppose. Why isn't therefore every single hospital biting your arm off? And why aren't other manufacturers jumping on your bandwagon?
The obvious one's price. There's a differential in the cost. How much?
What's the differential?
I don't know what the price of other big globals are charging, but it is significantly different, and we're told it could be 300% difference. But we're not getting the callback. The product is designed to do what it's designed to be rather than amended. It's tailored, as Dr. Walensky said, it's tailored for the use, and it's also a special material which differentiates it. And I would love as a salesperson for it not to be called mesh, because otherwise we would be saying this is totally different. But unfortunately, there is a label attached to that word mesh, which makes it all wrong, all bad. And we have that debate, calling the implant rather than a mesh, but it is a mesh. But there does need to be an awareness, and we have engaged with some politicians, we've engaged with senior people in the NHS. When we have this conversation, they look at us and go, you've got to get this message across so that the knowledge that mesh is not common, it's not all the same.
Have you talked to the patient group?
We have talked to some patient groups, but they can be quite aggressive. I did met with 3 ladies from Northern Ireland, as arranged by just to see, and it was one-way traffic transmit, and it was not going to be constructive. And I feel for those patients, some of the experience they had is shocking. And the one incident that we've had, when it was fully investigated and we followed up, was nothing to do with the product. The reaction change was 10 days. It was a procedure problem, and was corrected very, very quickly and went away.
Can I ask you, have you any evidence about systemic immune reactions to mesh? I know all about the local reactions and the foreign body inflammation, but have you got any evidence of systemic immune activation leading to symptomatology in the patients?
There are some studies showing that there's a type of immune reaction, and this immune reaction directly correlates to the foreign body reaction, which is produced to measure the extent of the mesh. In our ePVDF, have never seen any case that a physician asked us, well, there's a immune reaction.
You've had no cases reported due of possible systemic reactions like fibromyalgia or cytokine activation, or
but this is very, very rare.
Arthritis or skin problems?
Sometimes I had the patients ask me, well, there is a correlation to the mesh or not, but I have maybe half a dozen of these cases I was asked, and I never had seen at the explants some particulars in the pathology like eosinophilia or something like that.
So none of the cases where the mesh has been removed were related to body complications, they're all related to local complications as well.
I'm afraid we've got to draw this to a close because we've got another hearing coming in a moment. But I just wonder, is there any final thing you'd like us to hear that we haven't covered?
Before, could I just, because you said something which actually comes very close to my heart on this. We would love, as part of this process, for the differentiation between what we have to offer, which FEG have to offer, and what has caused difficulties in the marketplace, for that to be shown in lights, for people to realise there is a difference, there is an alternative, and it would be great that it was no longer a voluntary, that the feedback, the reporting, the traceability, which happens with so many areas within medicine, that we actually have that information becomes compulsory. I have to use that word, but it becomes that we have the feedback, because in 5-10 years' time, it's that data which is going to support where we go forward.
I just have to say, if there's any other information you think would be useful to us, we're very, very willing to receive it because we want to be open and transparent, and people recognise that we're doing a thorough job. So, anything else before we close?
Well, I think the most important thing from my perspective for the future is really to establish a reliable register. So with the MDR, the pre-market phase gets strengthened for us as manufacturer. So I think we will undergo the highest possible standards before approval, but post-market surveillance is really a matter of common responsibility. It's something which is for certain questions is really impossible for a manufacturer alone.
Yes.
So this
All right.
And then if we've got a few more questions, maybe we could write to you separately.
Certainly,
Sure.
it's a pleasure to help. Yeah.
And if there's anything you feel that you wish you hadn't said, I can't think of anything, but just let us know, because we will then look at the video and see.
Okay. Good.
So I do want to thank you so much for coming. It's been a very useful session, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much for having us.